tipping point that might be able to do this. And you and I are sort of looking at it side-eyed and going, yeah, you're adorable, right? You know, and maybe you and I.
Hello and welcome to the Rose and Rockstar from the Rockstar CMO effing marketing podcast and the Marketing Podcast Network. I'm your host, Ian Truscott, managing partner of Velocity B, a B2B sales and marketing advisory firm. It's Saturday the 18th of October, and in a moment I'll join my chum, Robert Rose, Chief Troublemaker at Seventh Bear, in our virtual bar, the Rose and Rockstar, where, over one of his fabulous cocktails, I'll pick his brains on a marketing topic that is top of mind for me. This week, the topic is inspired by a LinkedIn post by Chris Ross, a VP and analyst at Gartner for CMOs, who shared that a Gartner survey found that 45% of consumers find personalization creepy, which took us on a little trip down memory lane. But first, we need to pay the bar tab. I'll be back in a moment.
We'll be right back.
We'll be right back. Hey marketers, Deborah Eckerling here.
And I'm Keith Smith, and we host the MPN Meta Marketing Show, which is not just another marketing podcast, but the marketing podcast about all the other marketing podcasts.
Podcasts are booming, right? We love them, and people actually listen. They don't scroll, they don't swipe, well, except maybe during the ad breaks.
But here's the secret. With the Marketing Podcast Network, your ads don't make people hit skip. We put your brand on shows that people actually want to hear.
That's right. We match your message with podcasts that make marketing nerds like us perk up and take notes, or at least nod knowingly, pretending they understand.
And don't worry, because we'll deliver your ad naturally. People might even think that we love your brand personally, which of course we totally do, unless it's a veggie smoothie, then maybe not.
If you want your brand heard without making listeners roll their eyes,
head to marketingpodcasts.net and catch marketing fans at work, rest, and play. Seriously, your audience is already listening. Make sure they hear your brand and not our awkward jokes.
Join the conversation, because good ads shouldn't just be tolerated, they should be enjoyed.
Yes!
Hey business owners, we know you know the importance of maximizing every dollar. With the Delta SkyMiles Reserve Business American Express card, you can make your expenses work just as hard as you. From afternoon coffee runs to stocking office supplies and even team dinners, you can earn miles on all your business expenses. Plus, you can earn 125,000 bonus miles for a limited time through October 29th. The Delta SkyMiles Reserve Business Card. If you travel, you know. Minimum spending requirements and terms apply. Offer ends October 29th, 2025.
Hello, my friend, and welcome to the bar.
Thank you very much, mate. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Good.
It's been a quiet week, which has been nice, honestly, and
Yes.
it's really turned into fall here. It's
Nice.
It's been cloudy and cool, and when I say cool, actually, I mean I know this is not definitely cool. It's summertime where you 50 degrees Fahrenheit, right? And
Nice.
so that's cool here in Southern California. So it's been a lovely fall, and it's inspired me to cook a lot and all that kind of stuff. So it's been a lovely week.
Nice, and you like a hike too, and I always find that when the weather gets cooler,
it's the best.
Walking's much more pleasant. Yeah,
it's best when it's gray out. I love hiking when it's gray out and just a little moist, and there's sort of that almost a drizzle in the air. It's just so great.
You do mean a British summer's day there, then, I think.
I did, yeah. It's a British summer day. Is exactly what I'm speaking of. More maybe a Scottish Highland summer day, right? Than anything else.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Fantastic.
We have a lovely cocktail tonight. We have a lovely cocktail. Speaking of sort of cloudy, rainy days, we're going to make espresso martinis tonight.
Oh, great!
Which is one of my favorites. It's wonderful in the afternoon. It's really just the whole kit and caboodle. And basically, now they are vodka martinis because I don't think they taste good with gin, but some people may disagree. You may disagree, but they are vodka martinis So you start with a 1.5 parts of your favorite vodka, whatever that is for your martinis. Then you're going to need sort of whether you like Kahlua or white creamed cacao or make your own coffee at home. Whatever it is, you need a coffee flavored and liqueur to go with that. You can actually add more chocolate to it if you like to, but I don't. I just keep it with the coffee there. And then, of course, your espresso, and you need like make your espresso however you make your espresso, buy your espresso however you buy your espresso, but make sure to cool it down before you add it to the cocktail shaker, because you don't want that ice to melt and you don't want it to get watery. And so then you put it in with your ice and shake it all up and pour it into a cocktail shaker, and it will be lovely. Espresso martinis are one of my favorite.
I do like an espresso martini. They're not particularly classy, are they? But I do love them. And the other trouble I have,
I don't see that. They can be very. I mean, they're very pretty, because what happens is that Kahlua will foam up a little bit, and then you pour it in, and it sort of sets that little white sort of surface at the top. It's just, and they're very pretty. You could put some coffee beans in there if you like, to float on top, like you would with a sambuca or something like that. It's very nice.
Nice. Yeah, I think every evening should finish with an espresso martini. Love it. But the only problem with them, and it's like a lot of the drinks you recommend, mate, they're easy, aren't they, to drink? And then you realise you've had 3 of them and the world's changed.
Well, yes, especially with the espresso, right? You have 3 of these and you're going to be like, hi, how are you? Let's go.
I think that's a great way to step into the next topic, the topic of the day. And I'll ask you the question, because I know that you need to be getting out of here at some point after we've drunk these espresso martinis. And I wanted to chat about a post by somebody that I know that you enjoy the work of, as I do as well. Chris Ross, Chief Marketing Officer.
He's a lovely guy. He's a lovely, lovely, lovely guy.
I don't know him personally. I only know him through, digitally, if that's the right way of putting it. So it's nice to hear that he's a nice guy, because he comes across really well in his writing.
Oh my gosh, he's such a nice guy. He's such a nice. I'm going to say this, and I would say this to his face too. It's surprising that he works for Gartner, because he is such a nice guy, right? So,
do you know what? I was thinking that he doesn't come across as a Gartner guy with what he shares, does he?
He does not come across as your typical Gartner. As your typical Gartner analyst, but he is one of their best and brightest, and he runs the CMO practice there. And he was whip smart, lovely guy, and writes very well.
Yeah, nice. Well, I want what the reason why I want to chat to you about this on the podcast, because I think you will, you and I have a very similar experience, because we were both in the early days of the content management vendor space, right? 20 odd years ago. And he was talking about a recent Gartner survey found that 48% of customers perceived personalization, digital communications as irrelevant, creepy, or both. And I had a bit of a flashback, to be honest with you. And then he goes to talk about the perception of vendors and the perception of the actual audience of personalization. And we went through this 20 years ago, right? Because I then commented about my experience at Vignette, and you've had similar. So I thought I'd ask you, what do you think the state of personalization is today compared to? I mean, is it just the same as it was, man, 20 years ago?
Well, the funny thing is that I think in many ways there is a layer, which is something, I mean, you and I have, as you say, you and I have been living this, whatever you want to call it, for 25 years, right?
Yeah.
But over those years, what I have noticed is that there is, and again, you and I have spoken about this many times in different venues, where there's a difference between the efficacy, is certainly the approach of things like targeted content, right? Content that is targeted based on something, right? Either it could be as simple as different content for the mobile device versus the desktop device, right? Mm-hmm. Or it could be different based on whether you're a customer or not, right? Whether you're logged in or whether you're not logged in, you get different content. Mm. And so it's targeted in that perspective. So it's not necessarily personalized. It's not individualized. Mm-hmm. And that idea of personalization has always been sort of the sexy star on the hill that no one has ever been able to achieve very well. Not even Amazon, right? It's like you think about the mountain, the universe, the whatever your favorite giant metaphor is of data that they have, and they still don't get it right. You know what I mean? It's like products that you might like. It's the same shit you bought last week, right? I mean, so it's it's the closest that you've seen it really work is probably Netflix, and if you like this, then you'll probably like that, right? Mm-hmm. Which they spend, again, mountains of data assembling and being able to target to you. That's targeted content. But it's not about what typically gets sort of hyped up in the world of personalization, which is, hello, Ian, we saw that you were here last week and you ordered this product and that you like to pay for it in cash. And, it's sort of the Mad Lib sort of insert value into copy and call that personalization. And that's mostly what the approach of personalization is. Fill in the blank, first name, product name, whatever variables they can sort of fill in. That's what everybody's responding to, right? That's what the world responds to with the it's creepy or it's irrelevant and I don't give a shit about it. Mm-hmm. And so I think we're at a pivot point a bit. And the reason I think it's coming up again is because what Chris speaks about in the post, which is the idea that AI might actually be an opportunity to merge those two worlds of targeted content to specific people based on pattern recognition of things that we can't even assemble as humans because it's just too much data, too much combinations of things. Yeah. And his hypothesis is maybe, right? Maybe we're at a tipping point that might be able to do this. And you and I are sort of looking at it side-eyed and going, you're adorable, right? And maybe you and I are too cynical about it, but I truly believe that, there is an efficacy that we can achieve through targeted content that has nothing really to do with what the world thinks personalization is. So there is a layer there that is achievable and doable, and people are having success at it. And, but it's honestly mostly a human driven thing, right? It's mostly just hey, let's make sure we say this, that we understand our customer and where they are and meet them where they are so that when we have these human experiences with them, we're not saying, how much software licenses would you like to buy today? It's like just really just understanding where they are and the basics of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think there is the challenge I've always felt with personalization, aside from the fact that frankly, very simple rules-based stuff. I mean, I actually in the post, I actually went back in the Wayback Machine and pulled out an article from HBR which expressed the same sort of skepticism and challenges that the audience was having in 2001 with personalization, and they referred to AI back
that's
then,
fascinating,
right? Yeah, they referred to AI back then. And I also went on the Wayback Machine and pulled off a little snippet of Vignette's website and how they describe their products. And you could cut and paste that right onto modern vendors. But my point really on that was that it's always been this sort of voodoo, black box machine that we're now calling AI. And we used to, it sounds like HBI, called it AI, but we always made it sound like it was magic when it was basic rules-based stuff. But the challenge I found selling it back then or over the fucking decades has been, it's not what you know about your customer that's the challenge. We've always focused on knowing everything about our customer. It's we didn't understand our content. So you couldn't actually do the matchmaking. I think that might be where AI can help.
Great point. That's a great point. It really is a great point. It is it is not just understanding what your customer needs. It's having the, to put it in the old Seinfeld sort of, it's not just taking the reservations, it's actually holding the reservation, right? It's actually understanding what you can deliver. I often use the actual act of personalizing something, and when you say personalizing, it's sort of delivering the right message to the right person at the right time, right? The classic marketing idea. And so I always go back to, you don't have to know that much about your customer, nor do you have to know that much about your content in order to deliver an 80-20 kind of solution. And the example I always use is, the restaurant owner, the local restaurant owner that knows me pretty well because of my frequency of coming in. And when he sees my name on a reservation list and he sees that it's a reservation for 2, he can fairly well assume that I'm coming in with my wife.
Yes.
And so the table he reserves, basically he puts us at a back table, has a bottle of my favorite wine ready to go when we get there, and knows us by name and puts us in the back where it's a quiet table, etc. If it's a reservation for 6 or 4 or 8 or whatever, he knows that we're coming in with a party. It's usually a business group, or a group of friends. Yeah. He puts us at a big table up front where, it's well and noisy and fun. And he basically, he comes over and he makes a big deal about me. He doesn't know anything about me, but he knows he makes a big deal about, how awesome I am and blah, blah, blah. And makes me look good in front of my friends. Right. So that's it. And what do you feel? You feel cared for, right? You feel seen, you feel known. Yeah. That's all you're trying to do, is elicit that feeling. So if you take that at scale, right, all you're trying to do is make your customer feel seen, feel heard, feel known, and feel like they're walking into some place that knows them and that feels their pain. That's all we have to do. And so your content should already be able to do that. And to your point, you need to know what your content can do to anybody to be able to deliver against that. Yeah. And you need to know what being seen or held known, what does that mean? Because I guarantee you that restaurant owner, he does the same thing to 19 other people. And he doesn't know them any better than he knows me. He probably knows them better than he knows me, or worse than he knows me. And he's not doing anything that he couldn't do. You know what I mean? If he didn't, it's not like he needs a big notebook full of, well, Robert likes football, and Robert likes, he likes, he's a male and he's 56, years old, and he, all of those things. He doesn't have he doesn't need a notebook of all my data points. Yeah. He just knows that based on a couple of data points, what he knows about me, this is how I can feel seen and known. And that's it's just not that hard to deliver that layer that we just talked about that makes people feel something.
Absolutely. And I wish, and when you just said, I wish that I'd made that point now in Chris Ross's post, rather than bang on about being at Vignette. Because that was much better. But I've told a similar story, not just restaurants, but like when you're buying a suit and things like that. I mean, you just get the basics right, and that's going to be a better customer experience than we get today.
Yeah. It's where we are, right? It's the oxygen that we have in the room at the moment.
Yeah, love it. All right, buddy. So speaking of getting oxygen, where could we get our content oxygen from if we were in the interwebs?
So basically, if you want to go to my newsletter, you can go to seventhbearlens.substack.com, which would be a great place for you to hear more rants and raves about personalization and stuff like that. And you can subscribe there, of course. And then, of course, on our little website, which is seventhbear.com.
Love it, man. And when we spin the dial on the interwebs, where are we going to find you?
You'll find me on LinkedIn. You'll find me on LinkedIn,
You'll find you on LinkedIn commenting on Chris Ross's posts.
That's right. Yes, exactly right. Exactly right.
So I'll include a link to that in the show notes, of course. And thank you very much, mate. And will you be in the bar next week?
Oh, well, of course I will.
I look forward to it, my friend. I'll see you there. Thank you, Robert. And I think we both recommend following Chris Ross at Gartner. They're definitely one of the good guys. So that's a wrap on our visit to the Rose and Rockstar. Thank you for putting a dime into your podcasting jukebox, selecting our track and jiving along with us. You'll find links to Chris Ross and his post in the show notes, where you can also find all the links to me and Robert, the Beat newsletter, blog, previous episodes, and all the things on rockstarcmo.com. Coming up on Wednesday, I'm going solo as Jeff and I have conflicting schedules this week, and Robert will be back in the bar on Saturday. In the meantime, I'll leave you with this quote from Chris Ross from the post that inspired this chat. We should pause and remember that the consequences of getting personalization wrong may propel your customer relationships backwards.
You may know you're listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? Henneke Watkins-Porter hosts The Entrepreneurial You, empowering entrepreneurs with insights on leadership, business, and success. Henneke, tell listeners what to expect from your show.
So we provide innovative business strategies and practical solutions to common entrepreneurial challenges.
And where can people subscribe?
Find us at hennekewatkins-porter.com, as well as the Marketing Podcast Network at marketingpodcasts.net, or search for it wherever you get your podcasts.
You heard her. Go subscribe. This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.